I feel like one of the group of fans that's very excited for the 2025 season is the New England Patriots fans. They're confident, they're excited about their team, and they're coming off of a year where you would think that this team just made the playoffs, they had a surprising run, they have tons to prove to their haters in 2025. And while there is good reason to be excited about 2025, it's pretty important to keep into perspective what this team just got. They just got their hopeful QB of the future in Drake Maye. They just brought back their fan favorite coaching candidate in Mike Vrabel. And they just got a lot of money and a premium draft pick during this offseason that could really bring a lot of talent to this franchise. And it's a franchise that's sorely needing that influx of talent. In 2024, the offense, I think, was hampered by a lot of the coaching struggles and inexperience that there was. Their first was the starting of Jacoby Brissett the first 5 games of the year, even though Gerard Mayo during the preseason was saying that Drake Maye was outplaying him. There was the consistent struggle from draft pick Jalen Polk that cast a lot of doubt on whether or not he was worth a day 2 selection in 2024. And to top it all off, the offensive line this year started a new combination in each of their first 10 games through 2024. And they went through 12 different starting combinations overall, which led to a high amount of sacks being allowed on Drake Maye and on Jacoby Brissett. Overall, the offense was also just not very good, even if they had spectacular coaching. With the lack of production from the skill group outside of Hunter Henry, who especially produced even more once Drake Maye became his quarterback, the running and passing game was lacking that consistent, explosive player that could always be relied upon to get those tough first downs and help them move the ball down the field drive after drive. Now, there already has been a massive change in how the Patriots are going to be conducting their business on offense. They're going from Alex Van Pelt, who was not very experienced last year, to Josh McDaniels, who not only has experience in the NFL, but experience as the New England Patriots play caller. They're also bringing in other assistants like Thomas Brown, who was coaching the Bears last year, and bringing in Doug Marrone as their offensive line coach. The defense in 2024 had a lot working against them as well. From the beginning of the year, where they thought they were going to be without stud defensive end Christian Barmore for the entire season, all the way to the end when their leader at coach, Gerard Mayo, was consistently in the media putting his foot in his mouth. Christian Gonzalez is essentially what was his rookie year, was better than most as he was voted second team All-Pro at the cornerback position, but nothing much else really stood out for this team. Now, new defensive coordinator Terrell Williams comes over after a long history with coach Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. Williams will also serve as the defensive line coach, the same position he held in Tennessee under Mike Vrabel. While in Tennessee, Williams consistently got great years out of guys like Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, and Jarrell Casey. So I would look to see if he can help guys like Christian Barmore if he's playing this year, Keon White, Anthony Jennings, and anyone else they add to this roster in the offseason become an even better player than they've showcased before. The 2025 free agency list for the New England Patriots has a few key players that will be probably going to a new home next year. Jacoby Brissett, I would think, is almost guaranteed to not be a Patriot next year, unless he agrees to be the QB3 at a very, very team-friendly deal. The two guys who I think would have the highest chances of being brought back are offensive linemen Ben Brown and DeMontre Jacobs, as they did step in and play a lot of football for this team last year and have somewhat of an experience of blocking for Drake Maye. When you look at what the depth chart currently looks like for the New England Patriots, there's an obvious lack of a pure playmaker on offense, and we need a really good pass rusher as well as a slot corner on defense. So, how do we fix the New England Patriots? Well, currently the future of the position of quarterback is set with Drake Maye, and they also have Joe Milton as his backup. They need someone who can come in and help the vibes and bring a valuable veteran presence. Jameis Winston as someone who I think, if he knows going into every single week, he's not going to be playing quarterback on Sunday or on Thursday or whatever day that the Patriots are playing. If he comes in, he knows he's not going to be playing in the game. And the team knows he's not going to be playing in the game. But his job is to go in as essentially, I guess, the scout team quarterback, or as just a guy who is supposed to help Drake Maye and Joe Milton become a longtime quarterback in this league. Jameis Winston has a lot of experience at that. And he has I think the ability, proven destination after destination, that he can help guys, if there's some tough times going around with losses or poor performance, he's able to help guys get out of a rut and help them improve upon what they're playing like. If it's not Jameis, I think Brandon Allen would be a less noteworthy version of that as well. Now, improving the running game would help Drake Maye and this team immensely. The only problem is that there are not a lot of great or even really good guys available in free agency this year at the position. I think the best guy is probably Najee Harris, and considering that the Patriots are going to have the most cap space in the league this year, I would have no problem with giving Najee a somewhat of a prove-it deal, offering somewhere in the $8 to $10 million range for a year, maybe with a player option the year after. Other than Najee, the next group of guys I would go after are Ty Johnson, Rico Dowdle, and Jeremy McNichols. Honestly, I would rather figure out the running back position in the draft if Najee doesn't want to sign with New England. The wide receiver room needs someone who has been a consistent producer in the past and can help make life more bearable for Drake Maye. Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Darius Slayton, Elijah Moore, and Josh Palmer all are guys from varying levels of notoriety, and I think that should be the focus for the Patriots. Guys who want to be the number one guy or have produced as one or twos in the past and can come in. There's not a lot in that wide receiver room. Demario Douglas is probably the most productive player, and we don't know what we're going to get out of Jalen Polk in year 2. So it just getting one of those guys that I mentioned or someone else who I haven't mentioned who has produced in the past, that is exactly who should be the number one goal for free agency this year. The crop of free agents at the tight end position, as I've already mentioned in previous videos, it's not very good. However, what the Patriots do need is a blocking tight end, and there are a lot of those this year. Someone like Mercedes Lewis, who even at 41, 42 years old, is at the top of his game in terms of being a blocking tight end. Harrison Bryant or Durham Smythe would fit well as those blockers next to Hunter Henry and Jaheim Bell, who are more of the receiving threat at the position. I suspect a bit of a quiet year in free agency from the offensive line. I think improve upon what they were last year and bring back Ben Brown and DeMontre Jacobs. Otherwise, like I said, I see a pretty quiet free agency for this group. Now on to the defense. Like I've already mentioned, the pass rush group had a huge blow dealt to them at the beginning of the 2024 year. Christian Barmore had an issue with blood clots before the season started, and while he did come back for 4 games, he was put back on the injured reserve after he had some recurring issues with those blood clots. And the Patriots did also trade Josh Uche in the middle of the year to the Chiefs after he had another underperforming season. Keon White, he led the team in sacks this year with 5. However, he only had 2.5 sacks after the Week 1 win against Cincinnati. Long story short, this team needs pass rush help badly. Someone like Chase Young, Hassan Reddick, Khalil Mack, Matt Judon, and literally anyone else who has produced in this league, but also shows the ability to take to intense coaching and can play in a scheme that preaches the mentality of 11 against 11. Mike Vrabel, Terrell Williams, and these staff members that they have put together in New England, they are used to getting more out of guys than we expect. And while some of the players on this team at the pass rushing group they're going to be valued members of that defense, they need more because we've already seen for a few years in a row now, a lot of the guys that are on this team are not going to produce a lot. So they need to bring someone in who is going to do that. Now at linebacker, there is a bit of a mismatch between guys like Jawan Bentley, Jelani Tavai, Sione Takitaki. I think you weed out some of the guys at that linebacker position that you have, and you bring in some youth and speed at that spot. I think Isaiah Simmons fits that mold perfectly. I would also, like I did with like I said with the New York Giants, I would throw a bag at Zach Bond. I really think he projects as somebody that's going to have a really long, really successful career, and he finally was able to be on a team that actually valued him. Last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think if he goes, he probably matches a lot of what Mike Vrabel wants from a linebacker, someone who can get after the pass rush or get in on the pass rushing game. He can get in on the run stopping game. He can pass coverage. He's a really good player through and through, and I think he would be perfect with the New England Patriots. The Patriots would benefit from a third corner in between Christian Gonzalez and Jack Jones at that slot position. Mike Hilton, Paulson Adebo, and Nate Hobbs all are great options. And with those two guys I mentioned, they could form an elite trio at that cornerback position. At the safety position, I think the Pats have a couple really good years left with Kyle Duggar before you get his replacement. However, the other safety position I think could use some work, as I don't really know what we can expect to get out of Jabril Peppers this year. And for a long time in Tennessee, Mike Vrabel got some really good years out of Kevin Byard. I think some guys who could play a similar role for Vrabel, but possibly even better, are Justin Reed, Jeremy Chin, Javon Holland, Trayvon Merrick, and Cam Bynum. These are all guys who performed very well in the past. And in Justin Reed's case, he has proven ability as a winner. In Jeremy Chin's case, he has the ability to play over the top as well as in the running game. And guys like Javon Holland, Merrick, and Cam Bynum, these are young guys who are still developing in the NFL. And you put them who are athletic, they're long, they're rangy. You put them in that Kevin Byard type role, you could see these guys take off as an elite safety for the Patriots. Now, this year in the draft, not many people are sure who is going to be available for the Patriots. Maybe it's Travis Hunter. Maybe even if something crazy happens, Abdul Carter would be there at number 4. However, I think someone like Will Campbell would slot in as a very valuable selection. Even if he kicks into guard, he's a guy who would improve that group. He's very athletic. He can get on the move very well, and he's always looking for work as an offensive lineman. He goes to a coaching staff at number 4 if they draft him, where you know he's going to develop. I think he reminds me a lot of Taylor Lewan and even Jack Conklin, who Mike Vrabel saw play at the peak of their powers while he was their coach. I also think this type of selection, it would mirror a lot of the same value when the LA Chargers took Joe Alt last year to be their tackle of the future in front of Justin Herbert. I see a lot of similarities between that situation and this one for the New England Patriots. Honestly, throughout the rest of the draft, the New England Patriots are going to be one of those teams where just taking the best player available is probably the best strategy. Both sides of the trenches need work. All of the skill spots could use improvement, and filling out this roster with players of the future should be what the mindset of this team will be. 2025 is going to be very important for the improvement of this team. No, the playoffs are probably not quite reasonable as a goal yet, but getting a team that can win possibly 6 to 8 games would A, make their fans very happy, and would B, pave the way for this franchise to get back to the mountaintop.